بتقعيت فانو لي كبر حونا أصفها أبرها كاب مزوري. Thank you. كل هنا كاب روحو كاب قرباز مسأنا على نبزي جن I come Manal all the way from Adelaide, Australia. Please help me welcome our poet Manal Abdussalam Ahmed Younus, also known as Manal Younus. Ich denke, ich möchte in English Manal Younus.
They tell me my profile is like my father's. The chiseled nose and the jaw, holding stories from the city in the clouds. To the home of ancient remnants and colonial covenants, we are generations raised on crimson dust between highlands and Red Sea, but it seems that now all we have are memories. I shed a tear every time an auntie asks, "Do you remember me?" And I say, "No." Or every time I remind my baby sister where she's from and she says, "So?" For every phone call that starts with "Awi tafiki," and I say "I tafak kun," when really "Afi'e." And it always ends with "I tatfi," don't lose touch, and I say "I tafinya," when really "Kitafi'ya." And not because I want to, but because I'm at a loss for words. See, they get stuck in my throat and refuse to leave my tongue, and instead they come out in tears when I think about all those years that I could have captured in my own hands and relived before each conversation. Then maybe we would actually have something to talk about. The moments are few, but so precious. Like sitting on the floor of a house in Addis Ababa with my grandmother. A home and a city belonging to neither of us, but the only one where we can meet. We sat weaving lacha like I weave between countries and cultures, presence and absence. She taught me to craft my own mashrafat as I would my life. With patience, precision, the wit of a woman, I learned from her to wear my crown. Crowns of cloth passed down from mother to mother to mother in varying colors. Cloth that once was just cloth now holds truth. Strings cut, love costs. Cloth that represents roads and rivers running west of red waters. Lives lost crossing borders because those amongst us fought us, made killers of our sons and daughters when they taught us that there is no longer justice here, just us and power hoarders. But I imagine speaking to my late grandfather. I can almost see him standing there saying to me, "Who told you to look at your feet? You come from a long line of generations that preserve dignity despite occupation. You pick your head up, you hold your head high because we are not short of heroes. Our heroes wore Congo on their feet. They brushed teeth with soft wood. They brushed teeth with soft wood. They took shoes off when they entered the home. No, maybe they didn't look like heroes from TV because maybe they were not knighted but unappreciated when they worked 4 to 12, 6 to 2. Maybe they didn't work 9 to 5, but we saw their double lives. So when they tell me that my profile is like my father's, I say to them that that is my greatest blessing. Thank you. I asked if I could say a couple of words afterwards, but I don't know if I can now. It's all right. Don't do that, it'll make me cry again. Yeah, thank you very much. It seems that it's only when I'm in front of speaking in front of my people that I get nervous and that I get emotional. And a big part of that is because it's a few times where I really care what people think, and I really care about how I'm making people feel. And to be in a place, and to be constantly in places where I can be amongst people who care enough to be trying to make a difference, that's really, really important and really empowering for me. And I often hear people saying, how do we get the youth involved? How do we get young people to come to these things? And a big part of it is just to, thank you. I think a big part of it is just to show them support and to have these conversations, like they start at home. And I think many of us try, but reminding them about this love for who they are, because just like in that poem, I got my strength as a person because I learned who I was. And that was only when I was older. Yes, my dad tried to tell me stories when I was younger. He tried to make sure that I was connected to Eritrea. I grew up very Eritrean. But it wasn't until I was a teenager that I really started to learn what that meant. And I started to learn about the struggle. And I started to learn about back home and what's happening now. And I started to learn my language again. And that's where I got my strength to be able to deal with the racism and all this other stuff that we get living in Western countries. That was when I learned about the respect that my family, that my dad deserved, that he wasn't given by the people that lived around us. And that's what we're fighting for, and having productive conversations like the ones that we're having today, because I don't know about the communities here, but in Australia we often complain that why are we just talking and not doing anything? And that's the thing, when people come up with new initiatives, and maybe they're using things that have been said for years, but they're creating new platforms for us to actually take action, it's so good to see people supporting it and not trying to spread suspicion and all of these things that often divide us. So I want to thank you all for being a part of this positive change and the action that's taking over all around the world at the moment, and also to the people who've been doing it for so many years. Like, we have so many people here who've been struggling for years and often by themselves, and that's been mentioned many times. And so I want to thank you for that, because that's the reason that us, young people like myself, have something to hold on to. It's the reason that we don't get lost in the systems that we live in the West. It's the reason that we have any kind of pride and any kind of dignity. So I want to say thank you for that, and I hope we can continue to work together. And we've got a long way to go, but I really, really believe that it's going to get better, and we're going to be a part of it. Jazakallah khair.
Manal Younus, thank you. That is the Eritrean youth that